Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Livfiit Listens podcast, or if you're new, welcome. If this is the first episode you're ever listening to, I'm so happy you're here. I had quite the early morning today. I had to bring my family to the airport at 5 in the morning, so I just figured since I already had to get up so early, and I honestly did not sleep well last night because I knew I had to get up so early, I was like, we're just gonna take advantage of this and keep the ball rolling, and I went to a coffee shop early and just got some work done, except now it literally feels like 4 p.m., and it's only noon. So kind of a perk, but also an interesting just dynamic of a 5 a.m. wake up call. But anyways, for this episode, this really was actually sparked, this whole inspiration for this episode was sparked from a quote that I saw on social media actually. And this is definitely going to be more of like a motivational chat. So if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. But this is just transparently kind of my main focus in life right now is like really designing my dream life and really taking tangible action steps to create a life that I'm happy with. I feel like when I first started this podcast in 2022, I was in my healing era. I was dealing with so many big emotions. I was going through a lot of things emotionally, and I've matured emotionally a lot since then. And I'm always going to be working through things emotionally, but that was just like the biggest part of my life at that point in time, which was why basically all of my episodes at that time had to do with like emotional healing, emotional intelligence, all that sort of thing. Where I feel like now I really am more so in this era of kind of trying to set a foundation up for my life, for having a stable life, all of the things. And so I'm really in this era of wanting to really design a life that I love and that is stable and something that can provide for me, I guess, if you will, in more ways than one. So hence why there's a lot of podcast episodes around this topic lately, just because this podcast is my passion project and I just really like to speak on things that are really big on my heart because that's what I know I can speak with the most truth and conviction. So before we get into it, if you are new here, I always start every episode with something I'm grateful for, just to remind everyone to continue to be in the energy of gratitude and to remember to take time to recognize things that you actually appreciate in your life, because we all have a million things going on. We all have our own struggles. We have good things, bad things, everything that happens in life. And it's so important to actually take time to be present and appreciate what is going on in your own life. And then we always end with an affirmation as well that kind of supports the whole concept of the episode or helps us integrate the teachings in the podcast, the corresponding podcast episode. So that's like a little synopsis of how I basically structure these podcast episodes. So my gratitude for today is sunshine and warmth because we finally have some spring weather over the next few days. Utah is always super temperamental in the spring. It's always jukes me out. It always plays us. Like you think that spring is coming, but then we'll randomly get like blizzarding winter conditions for 3 days straight. And that's happened in 2 different spurts already this month where I had to whip out the snowblower, whole 9 yards, like whiteout blizzard conditions. But today it's actually the warmest it's been since like last fall. It's supposed to be like 60 the next few days and sunny, like hello, gorgeous. So excited about that. I'm not going to get attached. It's okay if it goes away, if we have another winter spell before spring's actually here to stay, but we're going to have some great weather the next few days. And you guys, if you know me, you know how much I am dependent on the weather. My energy and mood really corresponds with the weather. And when it's sunny, I feel complete and whole inside. Okay, so like I said, today's podcast episode was based off of a quote or sparked from a quote that I saw on TikTok actually that I loved. And it's from Tim Grover. And it says, if you think the price of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. If you think the price of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. Hi. If that doesn't light a fire under your butt, I don't know what will. When I first heard that, I was like, winning, the price of winning, like it didn't really resonate with me too well, but I basically substituted like, if you think the price of your dreams is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. And I love that quote. I love the way he puts it. And again, I just have really been in this era of trying to do everything I can in my power and to align and create with a life that I truly love and truly fulfills me, and the life that I actually want. On this podcast, I speak honestly a good amount about creating your dream life, about being your best self, about living in alignment, like living from a place of love and like an expansive mindset, like seizing your potential rather than living out of fear and shrinking yourself and not chasing after your dream just because it's uncomfortable, all the things. But I feel like sometimes people struggle with which is so normal. They struggle with the motivational factor of actually taking the action steps to show up and be their best self and actually strive to live their best life and strive to create a life that they love. Some people struggle with like the motivation to actually get themselves to do the healthy habits, to get to the gym, to do the extra mindset work, to sit down and meditate, to take that mentorship course. And they struggle to actually follow through and understand like the gravity of why it's actually truly is so important to do the things that future you is going to be so thankful that you did, rather than choosing the easy way out now. My dad always says you either pay now or you pay later in life, meaning you either sacrifice something up front now to reap the benefits later, or you take the easy route now, the quote unquote benefits now, and then you have to actually pay the price later down the line because you don't set yourself up, right? And I think that this quote really perfectly outlines the true weight and power that's in all of our hands when it comes to designing our life. And I think this quote actually also is a great wake-up call to what the pain point is of if you actually don't follow through on your dreams. And I think this goes for really anything that you're trying to search for the motivation for. Of course, we want to act from a place of love and from a place of kind of devotion to our goals and this vision that we have for ourselves. But also just psychologically, a great motivational point for a lot of people is also recognizing the pain point or the consequence of what will happen if you don't do this action step that aligns you with the goal that you have. And that's exactly what this quote highlights. And that's exactly kind of what I want to speak about today in this podcast episode is the price you pay by not being your best self and being fulfilled in your life. And I was thinking about this really thoroughly yesterday because I was recognizing how much that actually not living as our higher self, not living in our purpose, completely just pollutes ourselves and therefore others around us, which we'll get into. And again, I just want this episode to be a testament to the fact that we hold so much power in our hands to design a life we either love or we're either complacent in, we're either indifferent to, or a life that we hate, right? And I really don't want this episode to be anything to fearmonger anyone or to stress you out or anything. That's really not my intention. This is just meant to be a wake-up call. And again, make sure you are fully aware of the power you hold, the gravity of your choices, and the consequences of your actions, right? Consequences doesn't always necessarily mean that it has to be a bad thing, but just know what you're doing today, tomorrow, and the next day add up to be your life, right? And the thing is not a lot of people recognize that to the depth and to the severity that they need to until it's quote unquote too late. Okay, I use that term lightly because I don't really believe in mistakes. I don't believe that you should have regrets. Like, I do believe in everything happens for a reason, but I am someone who wants to seize as much time on planet Earth in this life, in this body as possible. I don't want to, if I can, I don't want to have to use up all this time to learn a lesson. I want to try to act accordingly now and do it with as much intention as I can now to, again, save more time down the line to have more life to live in the way that I want it to be, if that makes sense. And again, I just don't think people always realize the weight and consequences that comes with life until they kind of are already in a certain situation that now they need to start digging to get themselves out of. And so I'm bringing you this episode hopefully to wake you up before it gets to that point, or even no matter where you are in your journey. Again, this is never ever meant to, none of my episodes are ever meant to make anyone feel poorly or put them down. This is simply all just to gain awareness and put the power back in your hands. Because additionally, if you do find yourself down a path that you don't love and you realize actually actually, this isn't where I want to be going. I'm actually on the wrong train, right? The next best thing you can do is just to get off at the next stop possible and get on the right train. If you know you're on the wrong train, why would you stay on that train for the next however long if you actually know now, you realize now it's not going to the place that you want it to go? In the real world, you would get off that train as soon as possible and take the next one in the opposite direction. That's exactly what I want to give the power back to in this episode to do, and recognize that in the present moment, it's so easy to think, oh, I'll just do XYZ later. I'll go to the gym later. I'll do my mindset work later. I'll start to create this business later. I'll figure out how I can get a promotion at work later. And next thing you know, if you add it, what's the quote? I forget it now. I think it's like, here it is. I think if you add up enough tomorrows, you'll get a lot of empty yesterdays. Another amazing quote. I can't believe that wasn't even written down. I totally forgot about that quote. I loved it so much the first time I heard it. And again, this is kind of what I was trying to say, circling back to the beginning of the episode of that pain point. If you don't have the awareness now of how much your lack of action is adding up, before you know it, your life is going to be going in a completely different direction than you want it to go. And remembering the alternate option of what's going to happen if you don't actually follow through on your word, if you don't follow through on the promises you make to yourself, if you don't actually take care of yourself, follow your dreams, take the action steps. And there's a lot of different reasons why people don't follow through with their goals, right? They deep down don't believe that they're worthy of it. They deep down don't trust themselves. Maybe they just never actually developed discipline and exercise that muscle. Maybe they're worried about being judged. Maybe they don't feel safe in that level of success. Maybe they're scared of what their life is actually going to look like when they achieve this new level because it's completely so unfamiliar. There's so many different reasons, right? But the one thing that really sticks out to me, and I even said this in my most recent YouTube video, you are the only one who pays the price of not following through on your dreams and designing a life that you love. Especially goes for the people who are always nervous of being judged or what people are going to think of you if you start to post content or release music or start your own business, whatever it is. If you are worried of what people are going to think about you and that's what's inhibiting your action steps and you actually going forward with this vision, they literally could not affect them less. Their life is going to be completely the same whether you go for your business or whether you don't, whether you go for your singing career or whether you don't, whether you go for the modeling career or you don't, whether you go for your promotion or not. Their life is going to look entirely the same. So it quite literally has nothing to do with them. And by you not taking action in your own life out of fear of what others are thinking, you are only shooting yourself in the foot. And again, this is all hypothetical. We don't even know if they're actually judging us. So that's kind of like a 2-in-1. You're preventing yourself from actually being able to achieve your dreams and go after your dreams. And 2, it might not even be necessary because they might not even be thinking about you. So that's a big wake-up call for me whenever I'm feeling hesitant or nervous or XYZ. I am the only one who pays the price. You are the only one who pays the price. I'm the one that's going to have to suffer by not living in alignment, by not living my truth, by not allowing myself to fully express myself and my desires. There's another quote that I saw. I don't fully remember it. I saw it briefly, but it was something along the lines of like, what was it? It was something along the lines of essentially saying like, I'm not going to please other people at the result of suffocating in my own mind. If that makes sense, kind of like it makes no sense for me to be neglecting myself of my truest innate desire just to make everyone else around me feel comfortable or like to not be cringe or whatever it is. And it's so true. And this is why I always go back to, now I'm kind of going on another side tangent here and this is like a whole nother episode, but this is why I go back to your self-image, your self-love, your self-value so often, because this is why it's so important to value yourself and actually have self-respect, because when you have those things, then you can actually value your opinion of you more than you can value other people's opinions of you. And that's when you'll have almost the superiority, the priority of saying, okay, this person may judge me, yeah, but I think that this is cool and this is something I want to do. And my actions are going to reflect which opinion I value most. And since I respect myself, I value my opinion, I'm going to go after that option of doing what I love because it's something that I want to do. Whereas opposed to if you don't have that for yourself, if you don't actually respect yourself or you don't value yourself and you don't see your worth, yeah, you're going to take the opinion of Sally on the street or Sally from high school. And when you do that, you are indirectly saying that her word matters more than yours. Her no has more weight than you saying yes to doing what you want to do. And that's just like why no one doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's not cool. And in the most respectful way possible, it's like kind of pathetic. Like, who really cares who cares what Sally from high school has to say? You know, like, it's embarrassing to give her the power over yourself. Like, you are the one belittling yourself. You are the one putting yourself down. You are the one taking your power away, you know? And it's like, why we should love ourselves enough to stand up for ourselves and back up what we have to say. It's the same reason why you would want to like support a friend and back up them and like be there for them no matter what and not like jump ship and trade sides. It's the same thing with yourself. Like, you need to have conviction in yourself, your beliefs, your words, your truths. And again, by not going after the things that you want to in life, by not going after the things that you feel called to do and you feel passionate about, you are the one who pays by not following through. If you don't go to the gym, if you aren't consistent with your nutrition, who's going to pay for that? Is it your friend Trisha? Is it your dad? Is it your daughter? Whoever. You are the only one who has to live with the consequences of either doing the thing or not doing the thing, okay? You are the one who has to pay by not trying. You are the one who has to pay by being too scared to go for it. You are the one that has to pay by not practicing discipline. You are the one that has to pay when you fall victim. And I kind of think, like, I know this is sounding so harsh, but this kind of is also making me realize something. When I was in college, I think, yeah, this was my freshman year, I hated the school that I went to. I had to go to a side campus. It was in Pennsylvania. The weather was terrible. I did not want to go to that school at all. I was really struggling to make friends because all there was to do was party and drink. And I really didn't want to do that because I was just getting into like really getting kind of obsessive, but like it is what it is, into health and wellness. And that was my goal. And that's what I wanted to do. I loved it. And I wanted to feel as healthy as possible. So I didn't really want to drink. And I remember I was so sad. I felt so trapped on that campus. This like make me emotional to think about. But again, this is why I'm like bringing this episode to you, because I want you guys to just remember this. And it's almost, in a weird way, it's liberating in the sense that you have the power. But I remember I was so upset, and I remember I was talking to my mom, and then I think afterwards I was like sitting in the parking lot alone in my car. And after I was going on about just like how like I don't like it here, like I really want to leave. And just the consensus was like, I'm sorry, but like good luck. You know, was kind of the thing. Like, I'm sorry, but like winter break will be here soon. Or like, I'm sorry, but like, you know, count down the days till you can come home. And like, my point in this is that there was no one coming to save me. There was no kind of action step to make it better. There was nothing, no one was taking the pain away. No one could, I just remember realizing like, oh, like this is still my current reality. Me calling my parents saying I'm upset isn't changing anything. They're not making the school magically be in sunny Colorado. They're not making an ocean magically disappear next to me. I'm here in the middle of Pennsylvania alone, and I have to make do with this. This is my present reality. I have to do something with this. Again, kind of was like a sad, isolating thought of like, well, I'm kind of alone, but it also was an empowering thought of like, okay, like I need to pick myself up. It almost felt like I was sitting on the floor, this is all metaphorically, crying, waiting for someone to come save me, and me realizing like, okay, wait, no one's coming, so I'm either gonna keep sitting here crying like a weirdo, or I can get myself up and like make a change and do something that's like I'm gonna be happier with. And that's kind of what I mean when I say like you are the one who pays by falling victim, or by not trying, or by not following through. Like by me sitting and sulking and playing victim, I was the only one living that experience. Everyone in my family could feel bad for me. I'll say poor Livy, all these things, but no one was living the experience I was living. I was the one that had to live with that stuckness and sadness and just being disappointed, all those things. I was the one who had to carry that. So that's when I'm saying like in that moment, I had to say, okay, do I want to continue living like this and just be here and just keep sulking and me take on this own experience? Again, it's kind of like that quote that's like, being angry is when you drink the poison and expect the other one to get sick. It's like you're not doing anything but just shooting yourself in the foot. And that's when I realized I had to at least try to pick myself up and do what I could with my present situation to at least make it valuable, serve me in some sense, and at least get something out of it. This story is just a micro example of how this stuff accumulates into people's lives, where I feel like they don't always think this long term, and they don't realize how much that your life and fulfillment will suffer as a result of not doing the things now up front and doing it the right way and picking yourself up and making something out of yourself. And I just think about that now to this day. Like if I'm feeling discouraged about what I'm doing with work or how I'm going to make like financial stability and all these things and where I want to live and all this stuff, when I think about my future, I've always been a very visionary person. When I think about my dream life of what I deem as successful and success, I realize that if I don't create that, I live that consequence. That's my burden to bear. I'm the one who's living with that outcome. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but it's just like, again, I think that, again, since we live in such a victimized society, we blame other people or this and that. We think it's their fault or they're going to deal with it, when really, when you can fully take full radical responsibility of what's at stake, it gives you the power and the reminder that you are writing your own book. You are actually the author. And so if you want to have a happy ending, if you're nervous to have this atrocious ending, newsflash, you are actually the author, which is a little bit scary because it has more responsibility, but it also gives you more control and freedom, which is something to feel more empowered about. And it just helps me assume so much more responsibility when I recognize that, of like, if I don't make this happen, I'm the one paying that. If I don't follow through on my health, if I don't follow through on my business goals, if I don't follow through on my financial goals, on my personal goals, on my life goals, I'm the only one who's going to have to suffer. My sister's life's going to be the same pretty much no matter what. My brother doesn't have to take it on. I'm the one who's going to have to deal with the consequences of an unfulfilling life if I don't take the action steps. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that is a huge wake-up call all the time of like, by the way, if you don't actually put in the work right now and you don't take the action and put in the effort and intentionality to make a change, you may end up somewhere that you really don't like. And that is your full responsibility. And that always lights a fire under my butt where I realize like, oh my gosh, like I have the full control here. I have to make a change if I want something to change. And I realize that I'm truly only hurting myself by not actually following through on the promises I make to myself and by not ruthlessly going after the dreams and goals that I have set for myself. I am only hurting myself, which is a really big wake-up call. And then the second half of this episode that I wanted to bring to you, because I know that there's some people who still are struggling with self-love, with really knowing what they're worth and what they deserve. So the second half of this is that if this still doesn't bother you, the fact that you're hurting yourself by really not chasing after the life that you want, if that still doesn't bother you, the next kicker is that your loved ones will also pay in an indirect way. Your loved ones will pay in an indirect way by you not being your best self and by you not creating a fulfilling life that's meaningful to you. I respectfully speak from experience here. I never want to put people on blast. I respect people's privacy, but there are people in my life who are not really where they want to be in life at the moment, or looking back in hindsight may have made different decisions in their life to not be where they are right now. And I know that we all know what it's like to worry about people that we love in our life if they aren't doing well, or if they are upset with the way that their life went, right? We all at least have one person we can think of. And I don't really know how else to say this, and maybe this is a hot take, but it's something I truly believe. I don't ever want to be a burden on anyone. And honestly, in my opinion, I see it as a job of mine, out of respect to the people that I love, to do the best that I can do to take care of myself and to make sure I get to where I want to go. That's how I see it. I see it as a place of, it's like, because I love the people in my life so much and because I respect them, I'm going to do my duty of holding my own, is what it feels like to me. I believe that it's our jobs to actually take care of ourselves and stay healthy physically, mentally, and soulfully, in whichever way that looks like to you. And a part of that for me is actually designing a life that is fulfilling and that you love, because unfortunately, if you don't, your problems end up bleeding into everyone else's problems. And again, I'm riding a fine line here. I'm not trying to like preach over independence and like that there's no need for like familial community or depending on other people. Like, again, we are meant to take care of our loved ones, and I believe that through and through. But again, there's a difference between offering them help and offering them a hand and a shoulder to cry on and support when they need it, as opposed to being their quite literal life support and completely just taking on their own their problems now as your own. And so that's the other component that I think about when it comes to actually taking action on designing my life of like, okay, if I am too lazy now or too scared or too fearful to put in the action now and put in the work now, not only am I hurting myself because of this, but I'm also am making my loved ones pay down the line by not showing up as my best self and by not living a life that fulfills me and is meaningful to me, because then my actions, my energy, my ability to be a good daughter, sister, friend is going to be inhibited when I'm not my most 100% fulfilled self, where I feel peaceful with my life and where I feel happy with the work that I've put in my life to get it to a place that I love. And that's kind of my main message here that I hope is coming across the right way. The price you pay of not being your best self and being fulfilled and creating and living a life that you love is higher than you think. And again, that's why I love this quote. It says, if you think the price of winning or the price of your dreams is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. I just feel really strongly about this. Like, I'm someone who the thought of going down a path that I can't quite undo, that's not in alignment with me, feels very scary. And again, this isn't to say like that everything we do is going to be completely in alignment and always make sense and always be the right move. No, like there's plenty of moves on our path that maybe don't seem quite right if you see it at face value, but overall in your greater story, it makes sense. Like, again, everything happens for a reason. But again, there's still a way to go about it in an intentional way. I would so much rather be intentional with what I'm doing and try to take moves and make steps to the best of my ability in this present moment with the information that I know now, and then learn more going forward and pivot again from the best place that I can, rather than acting from an unintentional place or acting from a place of obligation or desperation and getting to a place that didn't even feel right to begin with, or go down a path that didn't even feel right to begin with. That's kind of the difference in the main message here. It's like, I am committed to taking steps in a direction that feels right always in this present moment and will allow the rest to unfold then. But at least then I can feel peace in knowing that I did the best that I could in every phase, rather than giving up or just allowing life to get away from me, all of the things. So again, I know this is a lot of responsibility and it can seem daunting and it can seem scary. But for me, again, feeling unfulfilled, that thought in wasting potential or wasting time or not having a lot of time left, that is so much more debilitating to me. I want to have as much time and intentionality and presence with the life that I love, doing the things I love with the people that I love as much as possible. And that can only come into fruition by me acting in alignment with my dream best self, and by taking action steps, aligning my mindset, my values, my thoughts with my dream life in the direction that I want to go to create something that's really meaningful and fulfilling. And that to me is what I think life is really about personally. That's at least one of my main life values with what my soul feels really pulled to do in this life. And so I just want this to serve as a reminder to you guys that you do have the power. You are the author of your own story. And by you taking the lazy route now, or by maybe not getting serious, or by letting this and that slide by because, oh, it's not really a big deal, know those things add up and know that you are paying that price. And then the price that you pay, which is then maybe feeling more unfulfilled or feeling dull, feeling flat, feeling lifeless, not feeling happy, not feeling satisfied, by you now being in those energies as a result of you not following through, your loved ones are now going to also pay the price of this different version of you. And again, you always have the choice. You can become someone and live a life that makes you feel happy, fulfilled, generous, abundant, to then be in that same energy to the people you love, or you can fall into a life that feels uninspiring, that feels draining, that feels dull, that feels suffocating. And that's how you're going to show up to your loved ones around you. And for me, that's just not something that I would want to put on my loved ones personally. And again, I'm saying this because I'm speaking from experience, from people that I've experienced in my life. And I'm like, I am doing the best that I think it's my duty as a daughter, a friend, a sister, to be as fulfilled with my life as possible, rather than not aligning my actions, my thoughts, everything with that life, and then complaining to everyone else about how I don't have it or how I'm sad or XYZ or how I'm unfulfilled in life, right? Like, it's up to us to make the change. It's our responsibility to create a life that we love, to be someone that we love, to do things that we love, and to take care of ourselves. It really is our responsibility. And I really want to bring that message home because it's something I so believe in. And we live in a world that's so opposite of that right now, of this victimized mindset, which it's no one's fault. That's what we've been conditioned to believe. And we've all been there. I've been there. I still fall into that mindset. I'm never immune to any of the things that I speak about, but it's something to be aware of. And when you can have awareness to it, that's when you can break free from it. You can recognize your situation you're actually in. And when you have recognition, you can actually now have the awareness to say, okay, here's where I am. What are the tools to help me get out of this? And I personally think awareness and acting from a place of radical responsibility is the best tool you can have to get out of that victim mentality and use the power that you have to actually make a change in your life and do something different and make something of yourself. So I feel like this did end up being a tough love episode. I told you it was going to be a motivational chat, but I do think it may be the kick in the butt that all of us need from time to time. I feel like I need to hear this every now and then when I'm feeling discouraged or when I'm feeling kind of lazy or slow or whatever. Again, this is not to fearmonger or not to make anyone feel poorly. This is simply just to remind you of your power and just bring in some reality here of the two paths in life that are waiting for you. And again, you can choose what path you go down, but you need intentionality and awareness to make sure that you are choosing in the way that is most aligned with you and the life that you want to live. Okay. So I love you guys so much. Of course, there's never any judgment here. This is just an episode to help you think, to help you reflect. If you feel triggered at any point, look into those, lean into those. They're triggering something for a reason. Those are little hidden landmines in you that you may be overlooking or neglecting that need to come up, that need to get addressed, that need to get healed. Usually, if you are triggered in some sense, it unfortunately or fortunately means that there is truth to it, or at the very least you also believe it, and that's why it's bringing up an emotional reaction in you. So none of this is meant to be taken personally. None of this is an attack. Everything, when you look at things from an objective lens and you can say, okay, actually, yes, this is serving me or this isn't serving me, and move accordingly. When you recognize it can all just be business and nothing actually has to do with your own worth or tearing you down or deeming you as a good person, bad person, any type of person, then you can actually make a level-headed stride forward that actually will be productive to make a change. Okay. So the affirmation for this episode is: every action, thought, and belief of mine is aligned with the life of my dreams and my higher self. Every action, thought, and belief of mine is aligned with the life of my dreams and my higher self. I love you so much. I hope this landed. I hope that this was eye-opening, and I hope this was inspiring and motivating. I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully I will see you guys in my next epi. Peace out.